Rosie O'Donnell is opening up about one of the most emotional moments of her life, revealing that a recent visit to see her daughter Chelsea in prison turned into the longest conversation they had shared in an entire decade. After years of heartbreak, public family struggles, addiction, legal troubles, and estrangement, Rosie says those 4 hours behind prison walls changed something neither of them expected. It wasn't just a visit. It became the first real breakthrough in a mother-daughter relationship that had been fractured for years. The comedian and former talk show host recently reflected on the emotional reunion, explaining that the visit with Chelsea lasted around 4 hours before it was unexpectedly cut short because of a tornado warning. Even with the interruption, Rosie described it as the first conversation they had enjoyed in 10 years that lasted more than 25 minutes. For a family whose struggles have often played out in the public eye, that statement alone speaks volumes about how distant they had become. Rosie admitted that before making the trip, she wasn't sure what to expect. She had prepared herself for a difficult experience, knowing she would be walking into a prison to see the daughter she had spent years worrying about. Chelsea herself had reportedly asked Rosie to come, something Rosie said had never happened before in this way. That invitation alone gave her hope that perhaps something was beginning to change. According to Rosie, the moment she saw Chelsea, she immediately noticed a difference. She described her daughter as looking healthy, calm, and clear-eyed. Instead of seeing someone overwhelmed by addiction and chaos, Rosie said she saw a woman who appeared more grounded than she had in years. She revealed that during their conversation, she noticed empathy in Chelsea in a way she hadn't experienced for a very long time, saying it was the first time she truly felt her daughter understood the pain that had affected everyone around her. The reunion also became emotional because Chelsea cried when it was time to say goodbye. Rosie admitted that seeing her daughter cry touched her deeply because it reflected genuine emotion rather than anger or distance. After years of conflict, silence, and disappointment, those tears represented something far more important than words. They represented hope. Rosie has since shared that the prison visit wasn't simply a one-time emotional moment. She says the two now speak every day, something that would have seemed almost impossible not long ago. Daily conversations have replaced years of silence, allowing them to slowly rebuild trust, one conversation at a time. Rosie believes that communication has become the biggest sign that Chelsea is moving in a healthier direction. Chelsea's legal troubles have been well documented over the past several years. The 28-year-old was sentenced to prison after violating probation following multiple drug-related legal issues, including methamphetamine possession, resisting law enforcement, and bail-jumping charges. Her probation was ultimately revoked in late 2025, resulting in her prison sentence. Throughout the legal process, Rosie repeatedly emphasized that addiction had taken control of Chelsea's life, describing the situation as heartbreaking for the entire family. Rosie has never hidden the fact that Chelsea's struggles have affected several generations of the family. Chelsea is also a mother of 4 children, and Rosie has spoken openly about how painful it has been watching both her daughter and grandchildren endure the consequences of addiction. Throughout everything, Rosie has maintained that addiction is an illness requiring compassion rather than judgment. The history between Rosie and Chelsea stretches back many years. Rosie adopted Chelsea as an infant with her former partner, Kelly Carpenter. For much of Chelsea's childhood, the family appeared close, but everything changed as Chelsea entered her teenage years. In 2015, Chelsea left home, leading to a highly publicized family dispute. Eventually, Chelsea chose to live with her biological mother, creating an even deeper divide between herself and Rosie. While there were occasional attempts to reconnect over the following years, including brief contact during Chelsea's pregnancy, Rosie now says none of those moments compared to this recent prison conversation. One of the most surprising revelations from Rosie was her belief that sobriety has completely changed the dynamic between them. She says Chelsea has now been sober for nearly 2 years, and she credits that progress with allowing her daughter to become emotionally present again. Rosie explained that addiction often prevented Chelsea from truly hearing or understanding what others were saying. Now, she believes that fog has finally begun to lift. Following the prison visit, Rosie expressed her emotions through poetry, publishing a heartfelt piece describing every stage of the experience. She wrote about arriving early, waiting nervously, learning the prison visitation rules, seeing Disney murals painted on concrete walls, and finally watching Chelsea walk through the door. The poem painted a vivid picture of a mother trying to process years of pain while finding unexpected hope in the most unlikely setting. Rosie also described how simple moments during the visit became unforgettable memories. They talked, played games, shared stories, and simply spent uninterrupted time together. Inside a prison visitation room, they experienced something that had been missing from their relationship for years: honest communication. Sometimes healing doesn't happen in perfect places. Sometimes it begins in places where no one expects it. The comedian has also revealed that this deeply personal chapter will influence her upcoming one-woman stage show. Rather than simply telling her own version of events, Rosie says she wants Chelsea to have input, so her daughter's perspective is represented honestly. It's another indication that Rosie wants to rebuild their relationship through understanding rather than blame. Fans have responded with overwhelming emotion to Rosie's honesty. Across social media, many praised her willingness to stand beside her daughter despite years of public heartbreak. Others expressed sympathy for Chelsea's battle with addiction, while hoping she continues her recovery after prison. Many parents also shared their own experiences with children struggling with substance abuse, saying Rosie's story reminded them that unconditional love doesn't disappear simply because life becomes complicated. At the same time, some people remain cautiously optimistic, saying the true test will come after Chelsea is released and continues her sobriety outside prison, where everyday challenges return. Rosie herself isn't pretending everything is suddenly perfect. She knows rebuilding trust after 10 years cannot happen overnight, but she says she now feels something she hadn't felt in a very long time: hope. Hope that Chelsea can stay healthy, hope that she can remain sober, hope that she can reconnect with her own children, and hope that a relationship once thought beyond repair can slowly be restored. The timing of these emotional revelations also comes during a busy period in Rosie's own life. She has continued speaking publicly about her move to Ireland, her political views, and her upcoming creative projects. Yet, despite those headlines, nothing seems to matter more to her right now than the progress she's seeing in her relationship with Chelsea. Out of all the interviews she's given recently, it's clear that motherhood remains the role she values above everything else. Perhaps the biggest lesson from Rosie's story is that healing rarely follows a straight path. Families can spend years apart. Addiction can create unimaginable pain. Relationships can seem completely broken. But sometimes a single conversation, one honest, uninterrupted conversation, can become the beginning of something entirely new. For Rosie O'Donnell, that prison visit wasn't defined by prison walls or legal troubles. It was defined by 4 hours of listening, forgiveness, honesty, and the possibility of a fresh start. After 10 years without a meaningful conversation, she finally walked away believing that her daughter was coming back to her, not just physically, but emotionally as well. It's a reminder that while recovery is never guaranteed, hope can sometimes appear in the places where we least expect to find it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.